We live? We should be. We live? Yeah, all right. I guess I could pop out chat and put it somehow on top over here so that I don't miss out. How do I make the window floating? Hello? What's up? How do I make the window floating? I always forget. Hotkey control space. That it? Oh, yep. Okay. I wonder if I should keep the chat over here always on top or something like that. This way I can reply to you. Okay. So I can close this? Yeah, all right. So something I wanted to address first is we are trending on the subreddit, on the Rust subreddit right here. And overall, I think that the feedback is positive, but people are still focused mostly on the documentation. Which is, it's just been the norm for all past couple releases, I think. So this person here saying that it would be good if breaking changes and migration paths were clearly documented. And I agree, it would be great, but it is just impractical for ICE to do this. We're talking about an experimental library, and the API changes profoundly between releases. So stating exactly the breaking changes and migration paths would be a lot of work. And it's not, I think, a reasonable expectation to have of an experimental software and pre-stable libraries. So basically alpha stage software. I do not recommend anyone to use Iced if you are expecting things to stay more or less the same or to be guided through updates and upgrades. That's not, as I say, not a reasonable expectation to have. It would be a nice thing for us to provide, but it would be an extra thing that we do. I don't think it's reasonable to expect this at this point. Nor we are trying to, I don't think we're trying to portray or convey the idea that Iced is ready for prime time to be used in production and so on. So now this person, educating the user is not less important than giving them the tool. Awesome, release dessert. Yeah, that's positive. But then, yeah, there's someone here mentioning that I'm very happy work is going into a book, but this guidebook still has a long way to go. I have toyed around with ICE, but I still feel like there is much that eludes me, and currently I realize the final page says there is more to come. Thank you. It doesn't cover anything that, in my opinion, isn't clear from the examples. The listed future topics should help cover many of my misunderstandings, So I will have to keep checking back for new updates. So I understand where this comment is coming from, but it is not a very helpful or constructive comment. And the thing is that it doesn't really mention, it's not really saying much. All it's saying, the guidebook has a long way to go, which is clear because there's only 3 introductory chapters. And then it's saying that there is much that eludes me, but it's not really giving any examples or specifics about what is it that is eluding you? What is it that you're struggling with the library exactly? What is it that it's not covered that you want to see covered? It's just, it doesn't cover anything that in my opinion isn't clear from the examples. But I was told in the past that the examples weren't clear enough and that they were hard to understand. So now the book is as good as the example somehow. Overall, I just don't know what to make out of this comment. It's just hard to actually, it's just not actionable. I can't really do anything with it other than say, okay, yeah, the book is not there yet and the documentation isn't there yet. So it would be great to know, what is it that you're actually struggling with? Can you give me some examples? Give me some specifics. And then I'll work on those. And maybe someone else can actually work on those things, not myself. The listed future topics should help cover many of my misunderstandings, but you don't explain what your misunderstandings are. So just strange overall. I don't know. It's not actionable, I guess. Generally, the feeling that I get from most people that complain about documentation is that they want to read about the library, but they don't want to actually use the library. It's like they want to be told what the library does and how cool it is, but they don't really are that interested in actually getting hands on with it and actually using it. They just want to read a guide that explains to them, look, you can do all this thing. And then it's more like they just want the book. They want to read the book, but they don't want to actually use it. It's like people that learn languages or programming languages and they just read the tutorial, but they never actually get to code and actually use it. That's the feeling I get. I think that when you actually get to use Iced and try to use it, it's not as hard as people make it out to be. It's just, oh, the documentation is terrible. Well, there's really no documentation that's gonna tell you what the library does, but there's a bunch of stuff, and I think it's, if you actually want to use it, the examples are there. We have a Pocket Guide now that introduces you very directly to the different parts, so you can get started very quickly. So that will be my my response to this here. Just, I get this kind of comment a lot, which is, I just think the documentation is bad or not good enough, and it doesn't really help me, and I'm confused, and I don't understand things, but they never point out what is exactly wrong, what is it that is missing, and what are your misunderstandings? What is it that you're struggling with? Like, have you actually tried using it? So huge release Ice is getting very close to feature complete. Well, I wouldn't say we're that close. We're very, very far away from 1.0, but thanks. Animated transitions are the main thing I'm missing now. I'm not sure what they mean by animated transitions. Do they mean animated widget animations, like built-in ones? We have a PR open for that. It's just, we need to get the details right for built-in animations, because it's something that should come, I think, enabled by default, and maybe something that we should feature gate behind a feature flag, like built-in animations, like a toggler that actually animates, or scrolling, smooth scrolling, or button changing background color, stuff like that. And then it's important to also get right the API to make those customizable to some extent. So it's relatively related to styling, which has changed a lot in this release. So if it's taken us that long to figure out styling, and I don't think it's still yet 100%, I'm still not 100% happy with it. Yeah, animation is going to take us quite a while. as well. Also, I'm looking forward to using it. Any future plans for IceWeb? So IceWeb is dead, but you can use Iced in the web by compiling directly to WebAssembly. It just won't use Iced Web. It will use directly Iced, and it will use a canvas to render everything. IceWeb is an alternative runtime that I implemented at some point that used the DOM for rendering. So it would actually look like an actual page that's done with JavaScript. So it wouldn't be just a canvas. It would be actually HTML elements. But that's pretty much that, because it's a lot of it involved. It basically meant that we had to duplicate every widget implementation and implement it both in a DOM way, so in using the DOM API, and then using the native API. So it was a lot of work. And we decided to get rid of it. But you can still use Ice for the web if that's what you want. It's just not going to be the most accessible native website that you would expect from other technologies. So this release earlier today, I was surprised as I have already been using 0.13 deb for a week, and I was expecting that the release would come much later. I have to admit that the Elm style really pays off. Styling is not my thing. I'm just doing some basic stuff, so I can really commend there. But building a functional GUI app with Elm style is a joy. Yeah, I agree. I think Elm is great. The overall architecture is awesome. I think that having messages as some kind of like the glue between view logic and update logic adds a lot of value. The separation of concerns really works, especially when you introduce stuff like concurrency. It makes everything work really, really nice, because you have very well separated what is it that the application updates and where the side effects happen and everything, versus what is it that's presentation. And I think that helps very well. In other toolkits where you don't have messages and you just use callbacks and mutate things directly, the problem you have when you introduce concurrency is that all of a sudden you have also side effects that happen directly together with presentation code. So you may have an HTTP request in the middle of your form declaration, right? And I don't know, I find that complicated, especially when you're doing stuff like signals, not even callbacks, but just having hooks or signals. You just have an actual side effect here in your view code, and you're just relying on the call side for this side effect to actually only happen once, but it's going to be executed multiple times. So I find that very, I don't know, confusing. I would like to embrace any new stuff in the realm of GUI development, but most of them are broken while handling text input display for non-Latin languages, which drives away developers facing users out of the English world. I understand this might be difficult to address, but I hope it becomes high priority for the core team. I hear you. We've done some work on that regard. You can display non-Latin languages right now, but you cannot do text input very well. But that's planned for the next release. Accessibility, input method editing, right to left text. These are all main things that I want to try to focus on. Not making any promises. I don't know how hard it's going to be, but that's something I want to definitely address for the next release. And this person, I would rather prefer them focus on finishing up one display model rather than tackling all of them at once. I've seen a couple Rust UI frameworks trying this, and my strong belief is that they all died due to feature overflow. I also agree with this. I think that I believe that one of the main problems that we have with UI is that it's a huge undertaking, and a lot of GUI toolkits try to do too much all at once and try to do everything all at once. And I think that one of the reasons why Iced has been progressing and has been surviving all this time, it's been 5 years now, and it has evolved a lot, is precisely because we've focused on keeping a narrow scope. So for example, we're not trying to do any mobile stuff, and that's a very conscious decision that we've taken, because focusing on mobile would open up a bunch of new issues that we all of a sudden need to handle. And so we don't want to focus on that, at least for now. So we can just have a very narrow scope, and so go more in depth on specific things that we wanna do well. So I think it's better to focus on one thing and do it well than try to be too wide and do a bunch of things but poorly. And I think that, yeah, there's a bunch of Rust UI frameworks that just try to do too much at once, and as a result, they do kind of serve a lot of use cases, but it doesn't really feel like they do it very, very, very well yet. Not saying ICE does anything very, very well yet either, but I do believe that it can feel very overwhelming at some point for some maintainers, and it can feel very disheartening that, there's so many problems and so much that you have to address. It can feel like, man, this is impossible. I'm giving up. So it can totally happen. Yeah, another thing is that another thing that I want to address here is that it's disheartening to hear from people when we tell them GUI is very hard. GUI toolkits are very hard, or text rendering is super hard to do well, or it's super hard to do well, but it's easy enough to get something rudimentary working so that it's already useful, right? You don't have to solve every single use case to make something useful for people to use. So even if I never actually focused on non-Latin languages, it would still be a useful toolkit for particular things. You don't have to fix everything in the world. Your toolkit doesn't have to do everything. You can just have a very specific solution for specific problems, and that's it. So all I say is, you want to do a GUI toolkit, go for it. Do it for your own. Have a use case in mind. Have a specific thing you want to build, and just focus on that and design the best possible solution for that thing. And then things will just happen after the fact, right? I mean, if you choose to extend it or not, if people like it or not, that comes after the fact. So ICE, for example, was born as part of a game library I was working on, and it was just gonna be part of a game that I was developing. It wasn't even meant to be something that abstract or become its own library or anything. It was just after I added it to the game library that people said it would be cool to have this as a standalone crate. And I even released it without any kind of rendering. It wasn't even batteries included. You had to build your own renderer on top of the library. Visual Guide is actually great. I can finally start getting into it. Right, that's the point of the guide right now. It's just a very basic introduction to the different ideas that you're gonna deal with when building user interfaces, and it comes from scratch. So it doesn't even assume any prior experience building UI. It starts by explaining what UIs are. So that's how from scratch I start. So we start very much from the very basics, dissecting user interfaces and explaining what are the different parts. And then we introduce ICE slowly by building a simple UI first. And then finally, I introduce the idea of what is ICE doing behind the scenes very early on. So you get more or less a deeper understanding of what's going on behind the scenes, can help you understand better later on, later chapters that I have planned, to put everything in perspective, right? Book looks great so far. Cool. I was excited to see the official guidebook, but after reading it, I'm a bit disappointed. Appreciate the work that went into it, and I understand that it's a work in progress, but it doesn't really cover anything that wasn't already on the website. As a moderately experienced iOS user, we really want our better API docs. For example, some widgets are stateless and some are stateful. As far as I can tell, there's no documentation for which are which. Also, how do I change the color of text? Again, no documentation that I can find. Well, this is another weird comment, I think. The guidebook, as it stands, is not for you. If you're already a moderately experienced iOS user, which I doubt, because there's things here that don't make much sense that you said. Some widgets are stateless and some are stateful. All of the widgets are stateless right now. There's no stateful widgets. And you can know which widget is stateful or not, or at least. So let's say you want to use a widget. So you go to the widget module, right? And then you have a bunch of functions here. And here are the widgets. These are widget functions, widget constructors. This is actually in the book. It explains how to use widgets. So Contour has two buttons. In iOS, widgets are independent values. The same way you can have an integrated variable, you can have a widget as well. For our buttons, we can use the button helper. As we can see, widget helpers may take arguments for configuring parts of the widget store liking. So you just do that, right? And here we have another helper as well. So basically, you have functions that build widgets. You want to use a widget, you find it, say text editor, and then you see that it actually requires, some of them require arguments. So if you require an argument, you see how to create this argument, right? And if it's borrowed, then that means you need to put it in your application state so that Vue can borrow it. If you know Rust, there's no documentation necessary here to explain to you that you need to provide this argument, right? It's just obvious. It's not that obvious that it has to be in the state, but if you know how to read lifetimes, that's also obvious by the type signature. The text editor here is borrowing this content. So, and in Vue, the element returned has a lifetime that is connected to the lifetime of the application state. So that means that the thing you're borrowing needs to be in the application state. You can infer all of that if you are able to read type signatures in Rust. So this is why I added this disclaimer on top of the API reference that says that, well, everything is connected, and I think that you can use the library if you know Rust. If you're an advanced Rust user, you can figure things out, put two and two together. I think that the library is hard to use wrong or incorrectly. It's very unforgiving. What else? It doesn't really cover anything that wasn't already on the website. I disagree. I think it covers more than was on the repo. All that there is in the repo is an overview, a very bare bones overview. And I understand that it doesn't cover anything for you that wasn't on the website. Like this is the overview right here. This is all there is. Because you're already more or less of an experienced user, but the guidebook is meant for someone that's completely new to UI development. That's what I'm aiming for the guidebook to be. So if you're already kind of experienced with UI libraries, you probably want the Pocket Guide instead. So it'll get you started very much quicker. Better API docs. For example, some widgets are stateless. Yeah, we already addressed that. And how do I change the color of text? So you use text color, right? Text color. There it is. Sets the color of the text. I mean, that's pretty simple to search. Just a simple search query. How do I change the color of text? Just search here text color, and it shows that the text widget has a color method. I'm not sure how it would document that. Like, do I need to change the text color, use the text color method? Really? I mean, I don't know. sounds pretty useless. There's a bunch of useless comments that we have already. I don't want to put more of those. Can you give an example of how to focus a widget from a key press, like keyword shortcut? As I understand, I can use subscription to listen to key presses, but struggle to see how to focus a specific widget. Well, the to-dos example focuses a widget. In fact, the to-dos example has a focus system where if I press tab, it will focus whatever next input, the input is next to it. So it will actually toggle focus between inputs. Let me see if this compiles. Adding Glyphon. Why am I adding Glyphon? Didn't I pull this? Right, so the to-dos example starts focused, as you can see here. Let's add a task. Invent. I always like to delete one. Invent the universe. So now, and another, bake an apple pie. So let's say I click edit here. It automatically focuses and selects everything, right? So if I press tab, see? It does actually switch focus. So you could check the to-dos example, how it does it, but basically what you need to do, there's a focus next task. This produces a task, so you return this task on your update, and that allows you to focus whatever's next. But if you want to focus a specific text input, then you can use text input focus. And for this, you need an input ID. And an input ID is just this text input ID, and you can create it with text input ID unique. Now, this is not constant, so if you want it to be a static, you can use lazy for it. But you can also create an ID by giving it a name of your own. So you could do something like focus here and say text input ID new sum input, I think. Now this is not going to work because this input doesn't exist. So you have to use this ID. We'll have to use this ID here as well. So use text input ID new sum input like that. And so when you have both, see, that works. So this is focusing it on. If I use another ID here just to test, if I put it wrong, see, it doesn't work. So that's how you focus something. Now something we can do here is we could have an impl into ID over here. Let's see. And then make this generic and then make ID over here. Have a from implementation from a static string. Like that. And then have self new ID. And then do the same thing with focus here. Impl into ID. ID into 0. Something like that. And then we go to the to-dos. Now we can actually just write this, I think. So it's less verbose. Focus some input. And that should work, I think. Yeah. So let's actually remove this lazy part here because it's awkward. In fact, I probably think we don't need one cell now. Yeah. And instead of calling it some input, let's call it task input, new task. Yeah, new task. Yeah, that's pretty nice. So that should be easier, right? If you want to focus on input, basically use the ID method to create an ID for it, right? And then just use the focus task of text input with that name and it'll work. Just like it's similar like how you do it on the web. It's the same thing. Just this is, you can consider this like the ID of the DOM element or the object, whatever. Can you explain the relationship with libcosmic's iced fork? Does it make sense for them to upstream their changes, or is it too specific to their use case? I'm not very familiar with all the changes they've done to libcosmic, but I think they're very specific to the desktop environment they're building, from styling and theming to other things. And upstreaming changes is not as simple as them opening a pull request, because my vision of ICE doesn't necessarily align with their vision they have, and there has to be communication, there has to be a discussion. If they PR something, I have to review it, and I have to there's probably many changes that are necessary. So it makes sense for some specific things and features that they have implemented to land in ICE, but that doesn't mean it necessarily like all features necessarily need to be upstreamed, or all changes must be merged. Like as far as I know, they're doing a lot of things that are pretty specific. Like they're very opinionated in terms of the theming that they're doing and stuff like that, which ICE should stay a bit more less opinionated in that sense, I guess. But I know that they're working on bringing accessibility to ICE. They have PR open about that. So yeah, I'm excited about that. They just have to release it to the new 0.13 changes, well, master. Let's also add here text input. There's this thing with YouTube that they show this overlay over here, and I cannot really read the message completely. Can you tell us your vision for ICE? That's a very broad question. The devil is in the details, right? So it's not that I necessarily think that System 76 and I have different visions for ICE as a big picture, but the details is where we probably disagree about, right? So they want to do a specific thing in a specific way, and I want to do it in a different way. And that's where most of the time actually is spent. It's not on the big picture. It's on, oh, but this could be done this other way, or I prefer it this way. This is imperative. I like it functional, and so there are a lot of micro decisions that affect also long term how the library is going to feel, the feel of the library, right? So it's just not sure what you meant by what's your vision for Iced. Can you specify? Then I can answer. Probably I can give you a better answer. We're also going to implement this for string. All right, cool. I wonder if am I using focus somewhere else? We're using focus next. I don't think I'm using text input focus. Oh, here? Multi-window. Input ID clone. I wonder if we can just get rid of this. Doesn't the window have an ID itself? It should, right? Input ID. Well, in fact, it's already there. Okay, cool. Window ID is not display, right? Should we implement display for this? Let's implement display for this. Why not? Yeah, you can just do self-zero formats. F. Multi-window. Yeah, let me push that first. Because, you know, it's gonna make it easier for you. Okay. This works. Lint. All right. How are we calling this? Conversion from trade for text input ID. Implement from trade for some from traits. Yeah. So I'm gonna open a PR from my laptop because I'm not logged in here. This should make it easier. All right. I think this is non-breaking, so we could release it on a patch. It's actually a change. Well, actually, it's an addition. Yeah. There we go. Cool. If you could snap your fingers and have any iced app just appear, what would it be? Game engine, DAO, and ENLE. I have no idea what NLE is. So you're saying if I could just wish a nice app to exist, which one? So an app that I would love, that I want to work on, maybe on stream eventually. It's a it's like a presentation engine app. So some kind of application that allows you to. It has you have like a little DSL for writing slides and presentations, and then you have an engine that is capable of opening these files, and that would be a nice app, and it's able to just show the presentation, display it with transition animations, maybe even a built-in editor, graphical editor in there to change small things, but something modern, something cool, and specifically oriented towards developers for technical presentations. And what I would like to eventually the application to be capable of doing is you should be able to write ICE code snippets and embed them in the actual presentation. So when you load the file, it compiles those examples and it displays them, it embeds them in the presentation. So you can play with you can see the actual code of the ICE UI and at the same time the result right next to it. And I want to do this because I want to present, like I'm working on a talk that I want to give here in Barcelona, and I would love to do it with ICE itself. Like I would like to make the whole talk, the whole presentation using ICE. Oh, nonlinear editor. Cool. Yeah, something like that. So in the book, for example, I worked on this MDBook plugin, and you have this last example over here. It's actually, you can execute it. And this is a nice app right here. This is the result of this. So I wrote this little MDBook preprocessor that compiles this and embeds the WASM directly in the book. So you can just play it, right? And so the long-term, like when I actually get to write them, I want to have a widget showcase section here with a lot of these examples in code so that you can play with the library directly directly in the browser without actually having to clone the repo or, compile anything or download Rust, all that stuff. Like here's the counter, right, directly working. This is the counter that you build in these chapters. So it's interesting because no one has mentioned that. I think that people are not noticing the fact that there's a play button here. But yeah. I'll be back. Bathroom break. All right. Scroll direction is reversed in latest release of Iced. Maybe I broke that. Just getting that on Discord. Yeah, I can actually reproduce that indeed. I think it's because it's using the pixels one. Huh. Yeah, I think. All right, let's see. Scroll. Yeah, I think. All right. Yeah, I think I found a bug on macOS. Let's see. Let's merge this PR over here. Yeah, I think the problem is in scrollable. I've changed here. Right. I think that's probably it. Do I have to negate both? Is that also? Yeah, I need to negate both. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Sorry, you cannot see this issue because I'm testing it on my MacBook. But the issue is that I had to report that scrollable now scrolls the opposite way. That's because I changed the sign here, but I didn't add it here. And on MacBook, when you use the trackpad, it uses these pixels. Fix scrollable trackpad. Scrolling direction. Is it trackpad, touchpad? How do they call it? Trackpad. Trackpad. Scrollable. Okay, let's pull this. Yep, that that fixes it. Cool. Open a PR for that. All right. Should be open. I guess we'll have to release a patch version. Well, I was already planning to, so. Okay, let's merge this Rust version MR. So yeah, something I want to do in this one, I want to test that this version indeed works on CI, so that if we actually break this minimum supported Rust version, if we break this guarantee, we are notified of it. Let's see, Rust version cargo TOML. Yeah, that can be, all right. Let's pull that. Who's this user? dcampbell24. Git remote at dcampbell ice git fetch dcampbell24 add Rust version. Now what I want here is we want to use 175, remove this 0, trailing 0 here. Do I keep an eye on other Rust GUI solutions like Bevy UI? From time to time, I check any news, but generally speaking, I don't really follow very closely what they're doing. None other toolkits actually. I think that's a mistake when you are developing something, is to focus too much on the competition, between magic quotes. Like it's most of the time not a good idea. Focus on doing a good job yourself. Every solution is different and has its own value and it's unique on its own. And but yeah, I do sometimes, of course, check what's going on in the ecosystem overall, especially if there are for opportunities for collaborating, like Cosmic Text, right? I think that Bevy is also using it now too. The last time I looked at Bevy UI, it looked very bare bones. I don't know if they've improved that, but if I'm not wrong, they I think the API forces you to deal with whenever you want to update the widget tree, you need to know the previous structure of the tree. So if you want to change, for example, a text label of a button, you need to know exactly where that button is, and you need to access it using indices. So it seemed very brittle to me. Like you have to mutate the actual widget tree. So you have to navigate the widget tree all the way to the point you want to edit and then change it. Because it's just, I think the widget tree is just a component or something like that. So it seemed very brittle. I don't know. I mean, we can check it out, but Bevy engine. Let's see if I can find the example I'm referring to. It was this one, button. Right. See? You got a query, had the text query, children 0 here, then section 0. Right? Which to me, it seems like you're changing this section. You have like, I don't know, node bundle, button bundle. So you have a button bundle that has a child. And you need to know that yeah, I'm not sure how it works, but I'm just not a fan of these indices here. This is runtime errors waiting to happen. Like you put the wrong index here, and you just gotta panic, right? Seems very brittle to me. Haven't checked the other ones if they have the same problem. This one only seems to be spawning, so there's no dynamic stuff to it. I mean, that's where the things get interesting, is when you have dynamism in your UI, right? Display invisibility. Setup. Spawn. I mean, it looks very verbose, and I have a very high tolerance for verbosity. But yeah, you can see here there's still the same 0 text section 0 stuff. There's some IDs as well too, which are unwraps, right? Any kind of unwrap in to mutate. Yeah, generally speaking, you shouldn't make your users rely on unwrap to do basic mutations of the widget tree, right? I mean, I don't know. It's a different paradigm. I guess it has its trade-offs, right? I'm guessing that's very, very efficient. That's the thing. Because you don't have to rebuild the whole widget tree, which ICE has to do. So that's how we got away with it. And then, well, I'm aware of eGUI, which has been around for a long time, as long as ICE, I think, or maybe longer. I'm not sure. And I think it's awesome. It's an immediate toolkit, but looks really cool. If you want to have a real quick UI for any small tool or anything, I think it's great, and it works well on web as well. But I do believe that if you want a bigger application, I think that the Elm architecture scales better in terms of code organization and stuff like that. But in the end, it's preference. As I said, you have they're completely different in how they approach GUI development. they're in the process of finding a better UI solution. I've been hearing that for a long time. Like maybe 3-4 years. I understand it's hard though, and it probably hasn't been the main focus of the engine either, so makes complete sense. And then you have Deoxys, I think, which is, it feels like React. So yeah, my opinion is that if you're trying to do native UIs, right, and you can come up with any API you want natively, you have a chance to come up with a new design on with Rust for a UI toolkit, right? I think that bringing the web, the insanity of the web to native desktop apps, to a new UI toolkit, I find it a bit disappointing because I'm not a fan of the web at all. I think it's just a legacy tech that's been becoming a Frankenstein. Does my audio sound well? I'm seeing that maybe it's a bit too loud. Does it distort? Wonder if I should lower it. Let me merge that as well. Just hate the code in the end. Well, yeah, I mean, I think that immediate mode UIs can get very messy. You have to be careful. I'm not saying it's impossible to build big apps with that, but you just end up with not a clear separation of concerns between what's presentation, what's layout, what is mutating things, right? It's all kind of convoluted. And I just wonder how. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah. I've never used it, but it looks like it's too loud. Is that better? I don't know. Okay, so yeah, if you are working on a new GUI toolkit, I think that bringing the insanity of the web is, you're opening a can of worms unnecessarily. You know, you can come up with any design, but let's just do React. I understand the appeal, like, because there's a lot of React developers, and if you make your toolkit familiar, then you have a huge market. But someone has to take a stance of, no, this insanity, we're not bringing it here. We're going this other way, and we're making things better. We're like leaving all of this behind and trying to learn from this. Rust version. Remove trailing 0 in Rust version. I got admin. And then of course you also have Xylem, which is by the former Druids. I call them Druids because they were, working on Druid, the Druid GUI toolkit. And, it's super exciting to see what they're working on always, because they're doing this. They're always innovating and doing crazy stuff with. They're very focused on performance and doing things right. So it's always nice to. I always like to read Raf's blog posts, and very exciting to see where Bello ends up. I actually want to try using Bello for the Canvas widget to replace Leon at some point. That's I think I have it in the roadmap there somewhere. So I would really like to test that out at some point. I'm not sure it's going to be faster, because I think that it's still probably, in order to be efficient, I think that you need to mutate a scene instead of recreating it every time, because I'm guessing that's how it's capable of knowing what has changed and stuff like that. And that's a challenge with UI. So it's knowing what has changed. This update happened. What has changed, and how do we show this change to the user in the most efficient possible way? And that's incremental rendering, figuring out which part of the tree we have to relay out. ICE just takes the most naive approach and says, I'm just going to assume everything changed, and I'm going to recompute everything all the time. It turns out that it's fast enough for most use cases, right? And if you need further performance, if you need to optimize, then what ICE does is it says, okay, you can opt in to certain strategies you can do at the cost of some. Now I burden you with telling me when this particular thing changes. So for example, for a canvas, you can add a cache, and that cache, now when you have a cache, you're responsible of telling ICE when to clear it. If you don't clear it, then it will reuse that. So you now have the burden of telling ICE, this thing, please redraw it now, right? And recompute it. So I prefer that approach. So basically, by default, having a naive approach, and then opt in when you need actual performance, right? For the things that are performance critical, which is not everything, right? Rather than the other approach, which is I'm going to sacrifice API ergonomics for always fast, extreme performance all the time. I understand the appeal of that, but I just want to have fun building UIs. I don't want to have to worry about performance all the time. From a user standpoint, of course, it makes more sense. Like if you want to deliver the best software to your users, then what you want is, you don't really care about developer experience. You care about the product you ship, right? But I'm a developer, so I build things for myself and I want to have fun. So if the users are going to pay for my fun, then well, you can always not use the app. I guess. Just turns out that the trade-off just works for the most part. It's just fast enough. Wait, this moved. Let's put it over here. Let me know if the audio is too low or too loud. Yeah, so what we want here, we want to add on the workflow. We want to test, build, check, maybe check. We test. Test could work, I guess. Think and test, we're using a matrix already. Yeah. So we can do here 1.75. Can this be used like that? This is YAML, so I'm afraid it will be a number and it will not work. Where can I find an example of this? Setup Rust action. Well, I guess we YOLO it. See if it works. Test MSRB in CI. Okay. Yeah, 1.75. There you go. So now this should download 1.75. I removed the trailing 0 because it shouldn't matter. Since a patch version cannot actually make something not compile or compile again, it doesn't add any new features. Oh, I cannot see the logs. Yeah, I'm not logged in. But yeah, it's installing 1.75. Yeah, it works. Was it 1.75? Is that, or did I read wrong? Yeah, 175. Right, let me approve that. Approved. And merge when it succeeds. There we go. All right. Then we have another PR. Allow specifying a custom executor by Matthew. Ice Futures Executor. Cool. It just changes that. All right. Seems good. I think I just want to move this. Some checks were not successful. Oh, so it's not 175? It's not. Okay. Well, I guess that doesn't work. Already sounds fine. All right, cool. Something I found myself wondering when I last tried eyes. Do you intend to support somewhat easily creating custom widgets from some base rendered element, or is the idea to stick to pre-built ones? So there is a something that I have in mind that is very exciting, and this idea that is called what I'm calling Atom, the Atom API, or the Widget Atom API. And these are going to be very tiny widgets that you will be able to combine with other widgets, with other atoms, to build more complex ones. So maybe you have one atom that places two widgets next to each other, or one widget inside the other, or on top, or stuff like that, right? So in a way, it's going to be like an API, a bit less powerful than the widget that the widgets themselves, but it will allow you to combine smaller pieces of the widgets so you can create a bigger one instead of implementing the custom widget trait yourself. And the Halloy folks are exploring this a bit with a decorate widget idea, where you have this decorate struct that takes any widget, and then you can define functions for each of the methods you want to override in the widget trait, and then you can choose when to delegate. So you can decorate a widget and change the behavior of it. But yeah, the idea is to, of course, you will always have the custom widget trait available in case the atoms don't fill that, you don't satisfy your use case. But but I think it'll be cool. So you'll have things like, I don't know, this is a clickable region, and it will produce some kind of message when it's clicked, and then you can react from the parent widget, and so on. I don't know how it's gonna look, but I want to play with it. And the idea is that I want to make it all generic so that it's completely zero cost. So it's similar to like how the iterator trait works, or iterators work in Rust, where they're generic and you can just compose them and put them one inside the other, and then you end up with, huge types that are all nested, and the compiler then can monomorphize all of that and create very, very efficient code for an iterator because it's all generic, right? So that's the idea. Of course, there's always the concerns of what about compile times? What about this and that? So we'll see. We'll see how it pans out. But I'm excited about that. Because yeah, right now building custom widgets is very error prone. You have to deal with the persistent widget tree and the layout tree, and you have to actually access those using indices. So what I was criticizing Bebby about? Well, we do that, but we do it internally for building custom widgets. We hide that from the user, but there's still some of that internally. But from the user perspective, you cannot actually trigger. You shouldn't be able to trigger a panic just because you're using a widget, right? So it would be considered a bug if that happens. So it's not 1.75. Let's see. Getting an error. The trait from U8 is not implemented for cow static. Okay, let's see if I can find where that was introduced. std cow from. Does it say when it was introduced? 1.8. Oh. This one? 1.77, I think. Should we try 1.77? Let's try 1.77. 75. Yeah, yeah, creating custom widgets is very advanced, and we haven't focused on the internals much. It's just something that I use and mainly advanced users do. So it's also, there's no documentation for it at all, like zero, and barely any examples for it too. I mean, you had the examples you have are the widgets themselves built in, but it's tricky. And there are a lot of food guns in building custom widgets. For instance, if you should never capture a button release ever, because if you capture that, then you can actually make other widgets. You can break them because, for example, you may be dragging a slider and it may be listening to the button release, but if some other widget captures that event, then the slider will just get stuck even if you release the button. There's a lot of implicit contract to it. Yeah, so this failed here. Let's try 177. Okay. Let's review Matthew's PR here. Feature custom executor, I imagine. Yep. So program, I think it's in application. No, it's in program, I think, yeah. Is it? Oh, it's in application. Can just use the executor trait directly here without relying on ICE futures. Program with executor PE. Yep, P program E executor. Okay. That works. We can move theme before style. Okay, seems to work. Yeah, it does seem like it would take a while. I don't think they're very worried about it. It's debug, so, but I think it's important because I mean, you can just disable debug assertions manually in your crate, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. Find it. I mean, we could always look into it and see what is it. Is there a particular new assertion that was added that's causing the problem? We could always look into it. But yeah, it seems like it's gonna take a while. Unless, we just do it ourselves at some point. Because I don't think that they're worried about it. They're like, release mode, it's not affected. you know. And maybe the assertions are useful, but you know, they're debugged, so maybe add a feature that enables the assertions, right? Like adds them, like a strict assertions. I think that Rust Analyzer has that. So that, you know, like if you're using it for debugging, just add a debug feature or something, and then you enable those assertions instead of because I've seen that the actual performance overhead may be like an order of magnitude change. So like some people were getting 460 frames and now they're getting like 60 barely in debug mode. So it's a huge hit. Use import executor directly from page. Move theme. Another thing I wanted to do is add it to daemon as well. See, we can move this. Well, at the end is fine, yeah, because it's a very. Was actually thinking about doing like gating this under the advanced feature because it's, you know, if you need a custom executor, it's an advanced thing, but yeah, whatever. Is this passing now? Nope. 177 doesn't seem to be it. Okay, what's the error now? See, this is why we don't have an MSRB, you know, because we're always using the new stuff that's landing. The item ice highlighter is already defined here. What? Is imported redundantly. You serious? Where? Widget markdown 242. Can I push this? Oh, well, yeah, technically this is not necessary. You're right. I think. Let's remove that redundant import and see if that fixes it. Another bug that I want to fix is nested scrollables with different directions seem to not work properly. Let's see if I can reproduce that real quick. And we approved the custom executor PR. All right. So I guess I could do it on there. We have an actual visible bounds example where we have a scrollable nested here. Let's see if I can change that. Right, so we have one scrollable here and we have another here. See if I can change this to be horizontal. Let's use horizontal space width here. So 800, 800 or something. Visible bounds. So what's happening is I'm scrolling this. Oh wait, it's not actually showing a scrollable now? Because it's a column. Yeah, as you can see, as I scroll, oh, it works. Now it works. What? Didn't work before. As I scroll, okay, it works. And now, yeah, now it works here. So it does work. Oh, there you go. Sometimes it just triggers it. Not sure why that happens. Like if I scroll very fast, is it because I'm moving the mouse? So what happens is that sometimes I scroll down, and once the mouse enters this nested scrollable here, it starts scrolling it, even though I'm scrolling this one. And we've just recently introduced this thing called scroll transactions. And what they do is that basically the scrollable that you are scrolling will keep scrolling for a brief period of time, even if you are trying to scroll another one. So this should still scroll this. So for example, if I scroll here and then I stop for a bit and now I scroll again, oh, it does work. It should actually stop here, and then it should move this one. Yeah, now it moves this one. So if I scroll here, stop here, I keep going. Right, that works. Go down here, stop here for a sec, move, that works. If I keep going, it just keeps going. But sometimes it doesn't. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because I moved the cursor a bit. If you move the cursor, the timer is smaller. Well, let's check what's the actual time. I think we have it here on top of everything. Last scrolled. Clear transaction is true. If you press a button, you release a button, or the cursor leaves. So that clears the transaction. If not, if the cursor moved, then it clears the transaction if it's 100 milliseconds. 100 milliseconds seems super, super short. That's, I don't know. I think it should be at least 200 or something. But I think, if I'm not wrong, this is taken from the Gecko. Like, we're just doing what the Gecko web engine does. The web Gecko engine does. Oh, see if I can find it. The behavior in Mozilla's Gecko engine, which is more in line with what users expect. When the mouse cursor moves inside the targeted frame, however, we need to ignore some mouse movements, which are fired unexpectedly when the user turns the wheel. Defines the time of ignoring mouse move events before and after a mouse wheel event. The value is millisecond. The default value is 100. So it seems to work, I think. But I think that I may just be moving the cursor. Unexpectedly or something. I don't know. So I move down, stop here. 1, 2, yeah. I don't know. I cannot reproduce now. I know it was very common on the changelog. Another way to test this is the markdown example. So if I make this a bit smaller, you see that it adds this scrollables here. So if I go down, see it's scrolling. That's definitely not okay. See? Yeah, that's not fine. Like, I'm down here, I'm supposed to be scrolling this scrollable over here, but when I go up, it scrolls both. That ain't good. But why is it not happening with the visible bounds one? That's the interesting part. Okay, well, doesn't matter. We have a way to reproduce. So what is going on here? Let's see. Let's have a cleared message here. Actually, clear transaction. Let's print that there. Okay, so that didn't fix it either. Damn. This is a ref cell default now. It's not implemented, which is required. Come on. Okay. Gotta check that out. But let's fix this first. So I move down. Wait, it's not actually printing anything. Huh? How is that possible? Yeah, it's not printing anything. So last scrolled is not getting set? Is that because we don't have an on scroll? It may be because of that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. If on scroll, I got out here on scroll is none. Because if on scroll is none, this will return. Well, I think this just returns. What is the result of this used for? And status captured? Well, I think this should always be the case. Yeah, I think that's the fix. Yeah. You can see now we are actually processing that. Clear the transaction. Right. So it doesn't clear as long as I'm scrolling like that. If I move, it shows true. If I scroll but I move at the same time very quickly, it doesn't actually trigger. Right. Cool. And now if I make this smaller to the point that we have that, yeah, it doesn't happen now. Yeah. It only happens if I wait here for a bit and then I do it. Whoa, wait. That work? Oh, it's still scrolling this one. Interesting. I think that this notify viewport is not. This shouldn't be false. Yeah, I think I screwed up here. Yeah, I think that makes more sense. Yeah. Now this captures when I'm scrolling it. Technically, it shouldn't after... I see. Only if it's changed, it should output true. I think that last notified should always be something. Should always be set. And then here that, yeah. Scrollables are tricky. So what I want is, I want to scroll this, but whenever this reaches max and I try to scroll it again, I want it to scroll this, right? Yeah. Yeah, that works. So I expected. I'm not sure if when you're scrolling this should stay there, like the transaction should just capture no matter what. But that's better than before, so I'm just going to keep it this way. And we can focus on fixing that later point in time. How does the web do this? Does it actually say? Let me see, one sec. There is a if notify scroll here, captured. If notify scroll, or we are in a transaction here. If state last scrolled is some, or, well, if I do or, in transaction, has scrolled, in transaction equals state last scrolled is some. So whether we are in a transaction or it has scrolled, or maybe just has scrolled, or in transaction. So in any of both of these cases, we want to capture to avoid the parent to handle that. So now we go here. Oh, it still captures it. I wonder why. That's probably because we're setting the transaction no matter what. Where are we actually editing this? Oh, here. Here. Yeah, I think this may make sense now. To have it like that. That we fixed the notify viewport method there. Does it actually work? It seems like it's... Yeah. Okay. Now I'm gonna make it smaller. Cool. So now I can do this and it doesn't start scrolling the other one. Even if I top it like that. Only after a while of not scrolling. Oh, that's cool. After the second and a half. It gets cleared, the transaction gets cleared, and then whoop, it starts scrolling again. Cool. All right, that's cool. Let's remove the debug and lint this thing. Fix scrollable transactions when on scroll is not set. All right, this is another quick fix. Enable auto merge. Right, so we gotta fix again the Rust version thing. Well, wait, the custom executor doesn't work. Maybe cargo int. Did I screw something up here? No, seems to be a fine. Okay. Cargo format, maybe? No. Cargo doc? Oh, I think I know what it is. Yeah. This one. Copy paste mistake. $666 docs. See? This is a sign. I should never write docs. Push force. Let's go. Ba, ba, ba. Yeah, okay, the Rust version as well, it's not working still. I think it's because of the RefCell default implementation. We're relying on something new. Implement from T RefCell, partial equal for RefCell, partial ord. No, it's not RefCell. It's probably the type we're using for span. Oh, GitHub isn't loading for me now. Okay, cool. Mm-mm. Trade default is not implemented for a slice. Widget markdown. So I'm guessing that is not implemented. Hmm. So what is that? Is that a slice? Let me see. Maybe RC. Oh, 1.80. Ha. Okay. 1.80 you need. Workflows test. Yeah, 1.80. Wow. That's not what I wanted to do. Bump MSRB to 1.80. Okay, I think that should be it. Yeah. Rust version. This doesn't work? Wait, it's the... Wait, I added 1 point... What? Did I make it 1.80? It says 1.8. Oh, is that... Oh, that's because of YAML. YAML, please. Just your typical YAML types. All right. Okay, what's next? Yeah, I want to review the documentation. The API documentation. I think there are some outdated comments here and there. It will be cool to do a bit of house cleaning there. Okay. Let's see. Okay, the scrollable fix is merged. Okay, so one thing I want to do in the Pocket Guide is I want to mention over here in the scaling applications, I want to mention the pattern, the action pattern. So let's do that. This is I think it'd be interesting to add there. I always hate writing docs in the doc comments. It's so awkward to write code here. But hey. So yeah, let's see. We have an action. Well, actually, the action is going to be in context. So, well, in context. So basically, here you're going to have action. This is going to return. Whoa. Right, there's no. This is going to return an action. Wait. Yeah, this is why it's so awkward. And here we're going to have a match action. And the action is going to be contacts action none. And in that case, we're just going to do task none. There can be a run, which is a task. And that's in that case, we'll do task map message contacts. And then there's going to be a contacts action chat contact. And here's going to be the interesting part, which is going to be transitioning to the conversation screen, which is what I want to show. And for this, you do this conversation, and you're going to have a task as well, returned as part of that. And then you do conversation. Is that even a thing we have over here? Yeah, conversation new. And you're going to pass the contact. And this is going to return the conversation itself screen and a task for initializing that screen. And so here we set state screen to screen conversation. So we transition to that screen. And then finally, the task, we map it to the conversation screen itself. And that should be it. Right? And now we need to make this compile. So conversation needs to have a function new that receives a contact, which is going to be nothing, return self, and a task message. They're going to be implemented. All right. Then contacts will have a enum call action. And the action is going to have known, run, task, message, and a contact or chat with a contact. With the contact is going to be just the empty tuple over there. Should be it, I think. see if this compiles. Compiling. Well, it failed. Expected. Task message found action. Oh, we haven't changed. We haven't changed this. Yeah, update returns an action now. Okay. Expected. Task message found action. Wait, but I changed it. Wait, did I? Or did I change the wrong one? Yeah, I changed the wrong one. Okay, that seems to work. Let's go. Improve API reference. Show action pattern in the Pocket guide. Okay, how are we doing? The PRs. Okay, the custom executors merged. From traits for text input ID, fixed scroll direction, trackpad. Yeah, okay. Now this one. This one seems to be working this time. Yeah, 1.80 seems to be it. So the minimum supported Rust version is the previous one. How about that? You better update your Rust toolchain, guys, or you won't be able to use Iced. Okay, what else do we want to improve of the guide of the API reference? I saw something that was, yeah, that was not good in subscription, I think. It was confusing. Do you have any ideas or criticisms about the documentation or something you want me to work or explain? Now is the time to do so. Now is the time to tell me about it. Okay. Should I add a bit of an explanation here about what an action is exactly? Yeah, I guess I could add that. The update method of your screens can return an action enum that can be leveraged by the parent to transition to execute a task or transition to a completely different screen altogether. In the example above, the contacts screen returns the conversation screen is created when the contact screen returns the contacts when contacts update returns an action chat with the contact with the selected with the contact that the user selected with the selected contact with the user selected contact selected contact. Is action. The variance of action can have any amount of data with the selected contact. Okay. See, effectively, this approach lets you tell a story to connect different screens together in a type safe way. Furthermore, functor methods like task map, element map, and subscription map make composition seamless. All right. Explain action pattern a bit in the Pocket guide. Okay, first version was merged. Another thing that I saw was in the subscription struct. This uses ICE futures here. It shouldn't use ICE futures. It should be iced. But it's always tricky because this type is actually defined in ICE futures, not in iced. So if I want to re-export it, I have to create, you know, virtual modules here. It's a kind of like mod iced, right? Super awkward. Use got a pub use here. What else? Pub use iced futures stream. So here it should be ice stream, ice futures, ice futures, ice futures. I think. If I wanna. Problem is, if the root crate ever changes, that won't be actually updated. Use it on the card type subscription. What do you mean? Right. That looks better, I think. Yeah. That's better. Improve improve imports of subscription run example doc example. Okay. What else can we improve? Oh yeah, another thing, the README is outdated as well. Wonder if we should just get rid of it. The web runtime leveraging the DOM, we can get rid of that. That's gone. Like IceWeb is gone. So the ecosystem guide is also very outdated too. I wonder if we should just get rid of it, maybe. Because at this point, it should probably just be rewritten completely. Hard to say. The ecosystem graph is quite outdated. We don't have a web part now. We don't have Lutin. We don't have Glow. We have Tiny Skia. So yeah, I'm thinking maybe we get rid of the ecosystem. The ecosystem guide altogether. And just get rid of this part too. Yeah. Seems better to me. So we get rid of this part. The ecosystem. We get rid of this link like that. Was originally born as an attempt at bringing game engine. I'm working on game library. Core of the library was implemented during May. This pull request provide render. Since then, the focus has shifted towards providing batteries include end user in the GUI library while keeping the ecosystem modular. I want to remove the contributions are really appreciated because I don't want to give the false sense of reassurance that I will merge every or take every contribution seriously or even consider them properly. I sometimes close PRs without like if you're just gonna throw code at me without any prior discussion and it's important features or public API changes, I will probably just close it and ask you to discuss it first with me, especially if I haven't heard from you in the past. You want to contribute, please read our contributing guidelines for more details. Feedback is also welcome. You can create a new topic in our Discord forum or come chat to our Discord servers. Yeah, that's fine. Sponsored by the CryptoWatch team at Kraken. Yep. Okay. Remove ecosystem. To Dodrio. Can remove that. Echo. Yeah, modular ecosystem. This can be removed. Two built-in renderers. Okay. Are there any mentions of the ecosystem? I don't think so. We're agnostic native runtime. The book overlay with performance metrics, text inputs, scrollables. I also think that we should eventually change these GIFs here. They're pretty outdated as well. I was thinking about showing some of these ones we have here. Like Halloween looks good. The problem is that it's a very big GIF. So I don't know if it will look good. It may actually look great there. I don't know. Maybe. We could try putting that one there. And maybe Icebreaker. this other GIF here. Will it look good? Yeah, I don't know. Let's show Holloway and stuff. Well, okay, well, first let's remove the ecosystem. Remove outdated references in README and ecosystem guide. Okay. How's that look? I'm gonna remove the feel free to contribute as well. Take a look at the roadmap and check out the issues. Remove feel free to contribute link in README. It's not that I don't appreciate contributions. It's just that I don't think everyone should be contributing. You should only contribute given there's already been a certain level of involvement. So you've used the library for a while, you understand more or less the vision of it. And there's been some conversations. So I don't like the idea that open source somehow has to be this. Like if you have an open source project, then it means that you're now open to feedback from everyone and to somehow you become a community manager of some sort automatically. I don't think that's how work should be in general. I mean, open source and in the end, cooperating and contributing to a project should be about people. It should be about talking to each other and communicating. And generally speaking, before code is written, there should be a lot of discussion and communication, getting to know who are you, right? Say hi. What's going on? I want to help. How can I help? Maybe you want to work on something that you shouldn't be working on, right? And the people that are involved in the project can guide you. So it's not so much as feel free to contribute. Let's go. Just pick something and do it. I don't believe in that approach. I think that a lot of open source projects work that way. I don't feel comfortable with that. Read the book, decommission the examples. All right, yeah, that looks nice. I like it. Now let's change the GIFs. Let's put Holloway in there. Let's go. I'm gonna actually link Holloway here. I think this is Holloway GIF. Is it? Let's showcase. And I'm gonna go icebreaker maybe. I mean, I could put other projects, but I think that these two are pretty good in terms of showing what ICE can do right now, and they also are pretty updated. And they're also they're all the members here. Both these projects are by the core team, so. Pen image in new tab. Icebreaker, showcase. Okay. Now the problem is they're not going to be the same size. So like I want these to be exactly same size. Can I not just limit the height? I think there was a problem limiting the height. Maybe GitHub doesn't let you limit the height. Hmm. Width 27 pixels, 275. What's the height of this? Can you... I'm not used to the Firefox. Is that compute it? Is there a way of seeing... Oh, 319. 320. Okay, can I do that? Height 320 pixels. Oh, I see. I think that the problem is that whenever you use height, then it will look like that no matter what on phone, on mobile. Will it? I'm not sure. Let's test it out. Update GIFs in README. Showcase, Halloween, and Icebreaker in README. Okay. See what's up with that. So it doesn't seem like it's actually... Yeah, it's 320. But I guess it doesn't fit. It needs to be smaller. How small should it be for this to be 2.7? Whoa, it needs to be very small. 220. I'm wondering... $459. How much space do I even have? I could just width 49%. Huh, doesn't work. Wait, is it because of the style? Oh, there you go. Width 275 pixels. Well, that's very small. 400 pixels. And this 400 pixels as well. How much space do I have here? 830. Okay, 830. So, okay. This one's 300. This one's 234. So maybe hope this video stays up. Awesome that you're sharing some bug fixes. Yeah, it will. I have been streaming for 3 days in a row, and I keep all the videos up. I think it serves. It may serve as a way to, document the internals of the library a bit. So I've been present since the start of the project, trying to be like you, my boy. Well, I'm flattered and honored. I am pretty based. What am I gonna say? Maybe height. Just don't know how to do this. Let's see, 49%. And this one, 49% as well. Okay, that doesn't work. So it has to be 48. And this one 48 as well. Okay, that doesn't work either. 47. And 47 eventually will work. Okay, that doesn't work either. 46. Almost there. I can feel it. Nope. 45. Nope. 44. Okay, that doesn't work. I'm probably doing something wrong at this point. It should be working. So you're saying these do not fit? What? 830. Yeah, it's probably something going on here. So currently, how is this actually showing up? Yeah, okay. We need to make this a bit smaller. Let's go, I don't know, 280 pixels. And here, let's go this one 300. I don't know, maybe we'll just play with it. Push force instead of okay, that's still not enough. I think we can make this a tiny bit smaller too. So maybe 260. Yeah, it should be the width. No, wait, the height should be the same. So we should change the width. The width of this should be, let's go 400 pixels. So Halo is gonna dictate the height. Okay, I like that. That's not bad. Maybe tiny bit bigger. 420? 420. Place it. Let's go. And then if I make this 420, here. Is there any space for the other one? Is it even changing? 480 pixels, 470, 480, 46, 470. Okay. Wonder if there's a way to render these centered or something. I mean, this doesn't look bad like this, but it'd be cool to have them actually completely centered. Wonder if I could figure out an aspect ratio for this. Like if I made this bigger, this is not gonna fit. Should be 275 height. Have Halo as well, which is pretty cool. Okay, let's see. Oh, almost. 355. I think that's pretty good. We can go 350. It's pretty close enough. Isn't that close enough? Maybe 460 here and give this a bit more. Okay, that seems they're the same size now. Yep, same height. Does that look good? I think it looks fine. Yeah, let's go with that. So this one is 460 and 360. Oh, nice numbers. 460, 360. Okay. There we go. There we go. And if I click here, it goes to Holloway. And if I click here, it goes to Icebreaker. Cool. Cool. Nice. All right. What else can we do? Interesting. This also fit here. I'm not sure if they're gonna fit. Wait, this is 960? Space? No, 570, yeah. Yo, Richard, what's up? Do you like the new README? I think it's looking good. With Icebreaker and Holloway there. It's about time we updated those GIFs because they were there since the very beginning of the library. I'm thinking we should, for every widget, we should start in every module here having a quick, basically a quick cheat sheet of how to actually use it real quick, right? Like just a quick example. For each of them, right? I think that will go a long way, I think, for users. Have there been any new comments to this thread? Oh, a couple. What are they talking about? Instead of a book, I prefer a lot of small working examples and a few articles describing key concepts. We have a bunch of small working examples already, I think. While these smaller examples are useful for understanding individual components, I personally need some clarity on how to build larger projects. I currently have a project which has a few different screens and I haven't implemented it as such. No, don't use trades for screens, man. Bad. No. Why would you do this? Makes no sense. Like every screen is its own type, and you can implement update in view to that type directly. And in fact, someone should reply to him and link him to this part here, the scaling applications part, because it directly addresses the concern he has. I think these are the only. Has he haven't seen the repo? Yeah. I've already addressed these comments earlier on the stream, like just as the stream started. But yeah, basically what I said is that I believe that a lot of these people that complain about documentation They are not interested in actually using the library, but they are interested in reading about the library. They want to read what the library does and how it is to use it. So they want to read about it, but they don't have any intention to maybe use it. It's like they want a book to read it, and that's it. And be like, yeah, I know ICE is cool. And that's it, I think. Because if you are concerned about actually using it, then I don't know, you would just go and try use it, right? So it's people that want to be convinced about, like, they're on the fence of whether to use it or not. Maybe. I don't know. It's like me buying a book about, I don't know, Erlang or something, and then reading it and say, wow, Erlang's cool. Yeah, but I have no plans on using Erlang, right? Like, I can buy a book and enjoy it and read about it and be amazed at Erlang, right? But doesn't necessarily mean I have any plans to use it. So, but yeah, at least this person seems to have tried it. Yeah. Well, this is why I built Icebreaker as well, and it showcases how to have multiple screens and how to connect them together and so on. So it's all there if you just look for it. But yeah, I understand it's not easy to digest. There's another person here that's also disappointed. But yeah, it's a work in progress. Okay. How should we actually... So for example, maybe I can just move this thing over here. Buttons allow your users to perform actions with a mouse click. Perform actions in your user interface to perform... What is a... By pressing them. Yeah, I also have these. This is just unnecessary. I can just Ice widget button, right? Just do that. Then I'll just define a function. Some kind of expectation that to be a library worth using, you have to meet a certain kind of a checklist. Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. It's a bit sad that that's what's become. I mean, If I don't know, if I navigated the world like that, I don't think ice would exist. You know, because I mean, WGPU was in 0.2. They had no documentation whatsoever when I started using it. Nothing. And it was hard for me because I had no prior graphics experience with Vulkan or whatever. So it was all new, but it was super fun to play with. And yeah, I think well, there's a lot of things to focus on when you choose a project, right? It's more about the API, the people involved, the trajectory of the project, and WebGPU seemed like the next big thing in the web. So yeah, but should I do this? Should I put the state here like that and just make it here pub type state, something like that? What is the most understandable way to document a button? I think it makes sense to have a view function and have it here. It's a bit like that maybe. Let's see how that looks. Does this even compile though? I mean, I think that you can figure that out from the it's a private module. How is it a private module? Oh, it's already exposed. Cool. No, I'm not planning on showing everything, unless there's a proper way of doing so quickly. External create ice widgets is private and cannot be. How is it private? It's the crate I am in right now. What? This is always the painful part. Well, I guess I can do something like that. Widget private module. Oh, I need to make this public. Element not found in the scope. Do I expose element here? I don't think I do. Or do I? Uh, nope. Wait, so where do I redefine element? Here. Well, I think this should be redefined in widget. Widget crate. Oh, but then it will be, right. I can't, I can just re-export everything then. Mod widget here. Yeah. Hmm. Well, I can make it private. Would that work? I don't think it will. It's always such a pain. Because now I want to use element here, but I have to redefine it. Yeah, it needs the theme as well. It just gets so long. Yeah, I could create a channel on Discord to announce the streams, yes. I just, for now, since I'm just getting started, I don't want a lot of attention. I guess, I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see how many people join just organically by the current subscribers and stuff. So I just wanted to see that. But I will start, if I keep going and I keep doing regularly, then sure, we can start announcing them. I just don't want to create the channel and then stream for a couple times and then be like, yeah, well, that was it. I guess. Wait, am I exposing theme again here? What? Well, that's not good. And I'm exposing renderer as well. Hmm. Yeah, it's not cool. Oh. All right, that works. Need to document everything or the links will fail. Takes a long while to document. For having no docs, it takes a while. Open. So I wonder. Ooh, I wonder if yeah, I wonder if some snippet like this is helpful. I imagine it is. Of course, people will complain. Where's the state coming from? It doesn't compile. So I don't know if I should get rid of it, but then I have to introduce the lifetime. I cannot elide it. And then, you know, they will have lifetimes when it's not necessary to have them for the most part. Canvas, we have another example here. Like, I just think people don't really know that we have documentation because it's kind of hidden in some places. So maybe having some redundancy just helps, right? Like here, you actually have an example of how to use a canvas. Canvas, checkbox. Checkbox also has an example here. Combo box doesn't. Container doesn't, but container, it's just self-explanatory, I guess. No, I don't think removing view will help because I've had a lot of new users come and they expect these to have side effects. So they just call this thing and they don't do anything with the return value. And they expect the button somehow to appear magically. So this basically says you have to return it. That's part of your view, right? You have to put it somewhere. So I think that makes sense. If we go to the button here, it's kind of like, sure, now I have a button, but I don't know what to do with it. Like it doesn't really. Okay, so whereas here it shows, okay, I can return it, right? And I get an element. I don't know. I think this makes more sense. And then the style is already covered in here. Button style theme status. It's kind of here already. So it's on the Pocket Guide already. I gotta want to make those examples super fleshed out. Just want them to be a quick introduction to the widget. Here's how you can quickly use it, right? If anything is missing, it's actually doing something on the message, but that is documented elsewhere, of course. Yeah. Yeah, the update logic is not part of the view or the widget module, so. And like, I don't think it would be useful to have here function update, message button pressed, and then you do nothing there. Just clutter. Yeah, we just want to show here's how you use a button. Like it actually doesn't matter. And in fact, if you just add this variant and you have your update and you add the button to your view, the compiler will actually automatically tell you you haven't handled this new message you added. So it should be fine. Yeah. Okay. I think I'll go with this. Add small quick example to button module. Okay, so we're gonna go through every single widget of these that we have, and we're gonna just add an example for each of these. Maybe some linking between the choose snippets in the description. What do you mean? What choose snippets? Pocket Guide one? It's like some linking? What do you mean? Like connecting these two somehow? Yeah, I mean, here I'm linking to the widget module already. And then you have a list of widgets here, right? So it's, I don't know, I would expect this to be very self-explanatory. You go here, maybe we can add some quick example here about how to, I don't know, show a bunch of widgets together, like a quick, I don't know, the counter example here or something. And then I think it's just obvious that you just click one module, right? And then you see, all right, here's how I can use this thing. Get a quick feeling. And if you want to know more, you go to button, right? And here you have a couple more fleshed out examples. And you have the methods, which are very self-explanatory. I think they barely need any documentation because they're just setters, right? This is not like, for the most part. I mean, from the button to button. Do you mean from the... What do you mean? from here, you want me to link to the struct down here? Or you mean from the helper function here? I guess I could link to the module here instead of the struct. That may be more useful, since you already have the button link here. I'm thinking maybe we could make new private. Because right now you have 2 ways to create a widget. Of course, we cannot do this now because it would be a breaking change. But for 0.14, we could make new completely private so that you're forced to use the functional approach. That way, there won't be 2 ways to create widgets, which can be a bit confusing, I think. And yeah. I have no idea what Diddy Man is. Is that some Gotham? Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, at the very least, we should change this to be button as well. Yeah, I'm thinking about just doing this thing as well. So I can copy this verbatim. So we can have the same example duplicated maybe, both in the module and the widget itself. Bit of redundancy doesn't hurt. And then maybe add some more details here. Note said there's the button will be disabled. Like that maybe. Wait, let's just call this view anyways. Let's just look on mobile. Ah, cool. It's nice. I think I'm gonna take a break. I maybe probably be back in a bit. Gonna eat something. Thanks for joining, everyone. See you in a bit. Take care. I wonder if having a consistent impl example instead of state throughout the docs would make any difference. What does that mean? Impl example. You mean this state here is confusing? Yeah, I know it may confuse people, but that's supposed to be self, right? Oh, you mean having impl example self. Right. I don't know. I think it's fine. Since, you know, I'm already using this approach here. So I think that people can fill in the gaps, right? And understand that state is whatever struct you want. Like if you want to make this self, that's up to you. But I'm not really using self anywhere here. Actually, it's all using the state pattern. Yeah, it's what you're more likely to do, but if you know Rust, you know that they're actually equivalent. And you can have your, you can have a view completely separated from the state. Doesn't have to be a method. I expect, I mean, how are you supposed to use the library? You don't have a brain, right? You should be able to think. It's like if you're using Rust altogether or like at all, the borrow checker is gonna destroy you. You can't think. Anyways, I'll see you, I don't know, maybe in an hour or two, something like that. Let me have something to eat. I'm starving. And I may be back later. Or I may go play some games. I don't know. We'll see. Take care. Thanks for joining.